As Germany's naval threat receded, Cammell Laird was helping to build up Britain's fleet. This is the Royal Navy submarine 114, one of more than 100 warships launched from Birkenhead during the war. Throughout Merseyside, the war effort was approaching its peak. The Allied armies were expending vast amounts of supplies and armaments across the globe, and the Ministry of Supply controlled a network of 12,000 factories, working round the clock.
Bombs have been used in millions. The output also provides a vast accumulation stored underground for the near future, when the United Nations will launch a combined all-out assault with thousands of bombers on every raid. $2,000 million rounds of small arms ammunition pour from the factories every year, a figure beyond the human imagination to picture. Absolute reliability checked at every stage of production. Almost innumerable guns of every kind and caliber are part of our answer to Germany. To the Middle East alone, we have sent 5,000 artillery pieces, 50,000 machine guns, and Middle East requirements are but a fraction of the total demand. Thousands of women workers, running the home in their time off, wear the frontline duty badge. Many such women in this factory are making guns for tanks, the latest types of which will give us superiority over the armoured divisions of the enemy.
There was an explosion in the powder department, and a lot of people were injured, particularly this one who I remember to this day because I had done her wages for so long, and half of her face was blown away, and a lot of other people injured. So it wasn't an easy job, it was a very dangerous job.
And even when work wasn't actually dangerous, it could be mighty inconvenient. These post office telephonists are trying a special kind of gas mask for civilian workers. The post office managed to keep phones and mail running right through the war, even though many employees had problems getting to work.
I used to bike down to the office because there was no transport, and you get halfway up to halfway into town, and a bomb would drop right in the middle of the roadway. You carried your bike around. If the police sometimes would make it awkward for you, it's very awkward to get down to the office. As a matter of fact, I used to on my bike one morning, which of course was dark, and two policemen stopped me and said the light on my bicycle was too strong, and yet motor cars were passing with us. So, I got to a stage when I wasn't able to alter the light, so I said, I'm in the post office, and I said, you're responsible if anything happens. So there's no, let him go.
I worked from 8 till 8, and as I came out of work, 8 o'clock, sure enough, the sirens would go, and I was in the centre of the town. And what we used to have to do was to run to a shelter, and we used to run, this was practically every night, the four of us used to run to a shelter at the end of Hanover Street. And I remember it now, it was Jones, the gown shop, ladies' gowns. And the manager had opened it up for anybody stranded in Liverpool, in the town centre. So we used to go there, and we used to stay there until it quietened down.
Littlewoods turned their Merseyside premises over to war production, making everything from parachutes, 5 million of them, to barrage balloons in Bootle and Birkenhead. Despite the importance of the work, there was still time for fun.
We did have some fun. As you say, the wireless was sing as you go and all that, Gracie Fields and all these people singing that. And we were really jolly. But the funniest part was when the balloon was blown up, you had to go in with large torches. About 3 or 4 went in, and you looked all around to see if there's any defects, anything, And they used to get in there, and you'd see the lights going on, so we'd go and say, come on, let's do it. And we take the plug out and the balloon and come right down, And all you could see was things popping up and down. We couldn't get out because it was that large and the thing.
There was always plenty of men around, and I was out every night enjoying myself, and I'd run for the nearest air raid shelter, or we'd get under the stairs when the air raid started. But next morning you'd go into the office and you'd wonder what you were going to find there, whether any of your friends had been killed, whether any of their family had been killed. And, many of the time we had to cry over somebody that had lost a member of their family.
As soon as you arrive in school to say your prayers, the first thing they'd say, we must pray for the dead. Well, most of the dead we prayed for were in that area, the children who'd been bombed, or the parents. Some also had their fathers who were in the war, or in the army, or the merchant navy. The first child we knew about, I can't think of her name now, her father was in the merchant navy as the war broke out, and his ship was first. Now, she was the first child we knew at that point to lose a father. But after that, it became, as the war went on, became quite frequent. Somebody would come in and say, oh, my dad's missing, or my dad's being killed. But you always seem to be praying for his sake of a mourning, for the dead.
But with prayers and years of sacrifice came victory. Germany surrendered in May 1945. On Merseyside, the cost had been high, 4,000 civilians killed, many more injured or homeless. But victory was sweet.
The German war is therefore at an end. We may allow ourselves a brief period of rejoicing. But let us not forget for a moment the toils and efforts that lie ahead. Japan, with all her treachery and greed, remains unsubdued. The injuries she has inflicted upon Great Britain, the United States, and other countries, and her detestable cruelties call for justice and retribution. We must now devote all our strength and resources to the completion of our tasks, both at home and abroad. Advance, Britannia! Long live the cause of freedom! God save the King!
That was a day that I think everybody that was alive in those times will remember, because everybody took to the streets. Just everybody. I remember walking from Aintree right along to Scotland Road, and the pavements were crowded, the buses were stopping, and it was just an absolutely marvellous feeling. All those small streets along County Road, they were having street parties, they had tables out, and all the streets were festooned with whatever coloured materials they could get. There was pictures of the King and Queen, the princesses. It was absolutely brilliant.
Well, everybody was happy. Everybody was shouting and roaring and singing, and no matter where you went, there appeared to be a party and people singing and dancing in the street. It was just one big party, because they were, the adults were saying, but us children loved it. You could run from one to another and they were singing. Well, I've never known an event since like it.
All the pubs were open. And inasmuch as I was old enough to go in pubs, I didn't go in pubs very often, but they were open and we were all ready to enjoy ourselves. And I literally saw beer floating in the pub. We had parties galore everywhere, and all the pubs was going mad, And I think we drank the pubs dry.
We just felt so proud and so glad it was over. And even people that had lost, say, sons or husbands came out to celebrate. It really was a fantastic feeling.
I really can look back on that as the happiest day of my life because of the atmosphere, which I wish we could describe it, but you'd have to be there, you'd have to see the revelry of the people, the singing, everybody was singing, everybody was kissing each other. And to be young and to be 18 at that time, it was a tremendous time.
The war brought out the best in the post office too. The Royal Mail kept the British people in touch through those hard years. There was no mistaking the importance of keeping the mail flowing freely, both to civilians and the services. It was recognised as an indispensable way of keeping up morale. The bombing of Merseyside and Britain's other towns and cities caused problems for the postal service, of course, but even during the hardest days of the Blitz, they kept the mail flowing and the letters arriving on the doorstep each day. There were special challenges in making sure that the millions of servicemen posted overseas got news from home too. Security was tight, of course, with the need for secrecy to protect details of troop movements, but mail for all the services got the red carpet treatment. That standard of service to the public continues today. Royal Mail, as part of the Post Office, continues to develop the technology needed to get the mail to homes and businesses as quickly as possible. Independent studies have judged Britain's postal service the fastest and most reliable of the major European countries. Royal Mail handles 61 million letters every day and is constantly looking for ways to make its service even more efficient. 50 years on from the dark days of wartime, the Royal Mail tradition of service to the public continues.